Chad, I had something I wanted to talk about today. Can I talk about something? Can I be like Scooch and can say, can we talk about this? Something that nobody's talked about over the last few weeks. Stop killing games. Wow. Chad, we're going to talk about stop killing games. Nobody's been talking about it. Absolutely nobody has been talking about stop killing games over the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to be the first one. Allow me to be the first person to talk about stop killing games, because I know nobody has been. Just is a dead topic on the world, and I just really think it needs more attention. I hadn't really talked about this because I didn't think I had anything more to add to it. Anytime that somebody would bring it up on stream, I let people post the link in chat. I talked about it. I made memes at Pirate Software's expense because it was funny. The conversation was just a single-minded opinion, right? The entire community, as it were, the entire internet was kind of on one side. There really was no other side other than stop killing games is good. It was having a resurgence of traction thanks to a few YouTubers like Moist Critical and others, and then it just kind of became a global thing where everybody was talking about it in the YouTube space. That's just what we're here to talk about today, is what has happened since Stop Killing Games has hit its 1 million signature goal. Because as I understand it, they needed to get 1 million signatures because that was the number that you need to get it in front of the EU people, the big government, big EU government. In Colorado, you need 250,000 signatures. Like, if you can get 250,000 signatures about anything, you can get it on the next ballot. So that's like essentially what it was. They needed 1 million signatures in order to be able to start making moves. It's the number that you need. So they got 1 million signatures. Great. And then a statement came out from Video Games Europe that we don't need to really go over what it said, but it basically just said, no, we're not going to do it. It literally, if you read the top line, we appreciate the passion of our community. But, hey, listen, guys, I'm trying not to be racist here, okay? I'm not a racist. But, however, listen. And so this came out from an organization called Video Games Europe. And you're like, what the f is Video Games Europe? It is basically just a big collaboration between a lot of industries in the gaming space, namely Activision Blizzard, Bandai Namco, EA, Embracer Group, Epic, Faceit Group, Level Infinite, Microsoft, Netflix, Niantic, Nintendo, Riot, Roblox, Sega, Sony, Square Enix, Supercell, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Warner Brothers, ZeniMax. They have large ranking members at those companies in this publisher group. In this publisher group, it's literally just executives from all of these studios, all of these major studios, okay? That's who's coming out and saying, hey guys, we the people of Video Games Europe, okay? We just like came to this decision on our own because we're like totally based and we have good opinions and we have no other incentive other than that, but to do that. Guys? And so I wanted to talk about this a little bit today because I think that it is something that's really important, because I think it's something a part of a larger feeling that's going on the internet right now. And there's like some real world examples that we can point to of not just the Stop Killing Games movement, but of us just not having control over the games that we think that we own in general. Because that's what Stop Killing Games is overall a movement towards. It is so that when a game is going to be sunsetted, that there is a plan for people that have purchased the game, that have given you they want the game, man. Just give them the game. And a great example of this, in light of the Stop Killing Games initiative coming out, EA is fucking scared, and so they're shutting down Anthem. One in the chat, if you remember Anthem, the game that advertised itself as, hey, do you want to play as Tony Stark Iron Man? You can do that in a game. It's going to be sick and really cool, and somebody bought it for me, and I've never opened the box, but I own it for the PS4. And Anthem turned out to be really shit. Like, it was such a cool idea for a game that just flopped, and it was terrible, and nobody played it. And it was one of those games that, you know, everybody made fun of, like Mind's Eye or anything else that you can point to in recent years, where a big company spends millions of dollars on a game, and then the game just completely flops and is immediately sitting at like 25 concurrent players on Steam. The reason why games like this should be given to the people if they want to sunset their game is because if you give that to the people, they can take your game and then they can put their love, sweat, and tears into the game, and they could make it an enjoyable experience of the bones of the game that you made. Because there were a lot of things that were really good about this game. Like, the movement looked and felt really good, and the idea behind it was really solid. It was just that every enemy was uninspired and bullet sponges, and it took an hour to complete a boss fight. The enemy's moveset never changed, and all you did was just sank in like thousands and thousands of bullets in the one singular guy. There was a lot of things that people did like, but there was more that people didn't like, so the game ended up flopping. But they're trying to sunset this game, and anybody that has ever played it will no longer have access to it. I have a hard copy. What the f do you mean, man? Either way, I wanted to talk about this more. People also started to look into what is already in place, and it was pretty scary what people have already discovered inside of current ULAs. If you don't know what a ULA is, you know when you're gonna go play a game and they say, hey, do you agree to this? And you just say, yes, I agree to everything that you just said. And then they sell all of your information and you go, what? You sold my information? What? I'm mad now. What do you mean? That's the ULA. And it found out that in the ULA, Ubisoft is basically able to just fucking kill the game. They say that orders the owners of its game to destroy them should the studio choose to end service for the games. Destroy them. That type of language means that if you have a physical copy of the game, that they can just tell you, break that shit. Stomp on that disc. Take a hammer to your CD-ROM. Fucking destroy it. And this was Ubisoft, but they alluded at the end of the article that it's not only as it's been clause been in Ubisoft's EULA for a while, but the sentiment can be found in other EULAs that you've agreed to before. This is Sony's. This is Sony. Sony may terminate this EULA if you fail to comply with any of its terms. In case of such termination, you must cease all use and destroy any copies of the software. You must destroy any copies of the game. Now, this means that you could keep a hard copy, but what if it's a game like Anthem? The hard copy doesn't do anything. That you have to fucking get rid of it. You cannot keep any of the property. You can't download it and keep it offline. This is Sega's. Sega has a very similar thing. You are not entitled to a refund termination. Full discretion to discontinue use of the product at any time pursuant to the legal terms. Without prejudice, the right of Sega shall terminate automatically if you fail to comply with these conditions. It's similar wording. They want you to get rid of your shit. And again, the greater feel of this is just the stop killing games is just us already feeling like we don't own the games that we buy. And I want to give you a couple examples of these. These aren't like stop killing game initiative level stuff. I want that to make that very clear here as we're moving into the next part of this segment, is that this stuff that I'm about to talk about with these games at the top, you can kind of see what we're going to talk about. V Rising, if you look at the tabs. I do not think that V Rising is against stop killing games. There is no evidence of that, but this is just something that I wanted to talk about in this realm. One of the chat, if you've heard of V Rising, seen V Rising, I played V Rising for a little bit. I was sponsored by V Rising, and the biggest meme was they told me that I wasn't allowed to curse during the sponsorship. It was one of the few sponsors that told me I couldn't curse, which is hilarious for V Rising if you ever played the game. And so my chat was like, okay, so we're going to call the vampires Vampussies. And I was like, no, guys, we're not going to call them Vampussies. And they said, okay, what if we call them Cumpires? I was like, guys, we're not going to call them Cumpires. But they wouldn't drop it. And so I had to treat chat like fucking kindergarteners. And I said, chat, what if, hear me out, we combine Cumpires and Vampussies. And we say, hear me out here, vampires. And you and I will know what we mean. And so for the entire time of the sponsor, I had more viewers than I ever had for a sponsor. And chat was spamming, oh boy, I love vampires, peepo giggles. It was great. It was great. They really enjoyed me being sponsored by the game. They loved it. So I was actually talking about this whole thing that I was going to talk about today in Discord with the Frost Prime team, as it were, earlier this morning. And Bird, one of the newer people that has come onto the Frost Prime team, was talking about how when V Rising first came out, you could not play a single player server offline. You could not play a single player server offline. If you wanted to play V Rising single player, you had to connect to the internet. And so much so that even a year ago, this was still a big problem, where a lot of people thought that you have to check the LAN server option, make your own server for the game on your own PC, and then once it gets unchecked, it will never be able to be checked again. And so it was like a big issue, right? And again, it's just the feeling that we are losing control of our games. But as far as I know, V Rising has completely fixed this, and you are able to play offline now. So shout out to them. They've done a lot of work. Apparently this guy had a bug, and this was fixed apparently within like the first couple of weeks of the game coming out in early access, but it was still a thing. Elden Ring is the next game that I want to talk about. Hey, chat, one in the chat, if you've heard of Elden Ring. Anybody out there heard of Elden Ring? Any Elden Ringers out there? Oh, wait, damn, not a lot of people have heard of this like small indie game. That's crazy. Elden Ring. Did you know that if you boot Elden Ring in offline mode on Steam and you choose the offline mode in Elden Ring, that it still connects to the internet if you are connected to the internet, and it still runs its anti-cheat. Now, why is this important? Why is this a big deal? Because there is a large community of speedrunners and modders. What happened was, because we can all say that if you're playing online and you're playing multiplayer, things like that, you should not be able to run mods. And so anybody that was running mods in multiplayer would immediately get banned from playing multiplayer, right? Fine, that's okay. But people that were running the game offline with mods on would still get banned because they were connected to the anti-cheat. So they figured that you actually have to disable the anti-cheat or disconnect yourself from the internet before you loaded Elden Ring with mods, because people wanted like practice tools so they could like free cam, or so that they could like see hitboxes, or they could practice a certain part of a fight so they can start up the fight at the second part of the Melania fight so they can just practice the second part of the Melania fight, right? Like they wanted practice tools, things like that, speedrunning tools, right? Look, this is what happens. You boot in offline mode. Steam is currently offline. You can see it still boots anti-cheat. And so this is just a thing of, you see how like everything is like so complicated now with us not feeling like we have ownership of games, even to the point now where like with the new Switch 2 games and the Switch games, that if you buy a physical cartridge for a Switch game, the game isn't actually on that disc. And when you bring it home on the cartridge, you insert the cartridge and then you download the game onto the cartridge. But when you download the game onto the cartridge, your save file is stored locally on your Switch. So if you put your cartridge into another Switch, you then have to re-download your save file from your online connection. So you could not just take your cartridge, be like, I'm gonna take this to my friend's house and play it on the plane on his Nintendo Switch as you guys are flying there. You have to re-download your save file before you get on the plane. And you could see how then, if all of a sudden Nintendo was like, yeah, we're shutting down support for that game. We're shutting down support for the game that you have a save file in, and you're like, oh shit, I can still play it offline. What if they just take off the access to you being able to upload/download it? So yeah, you could put it on an SD card, but then you'd have to be forced to get an SD card for your Switch and then download it onto the SD card. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just we're losing every aspect of our control over our game. But either way, that's why I like the Stop Killing Games initiative, and that's why I'm really happy why the Stop Killing Games initiative got all of the signatures that it did, and why I feel like we are starting to take some control back a little bit. We feel like we just have a little bit of momentum, just a little bit of momentum towards ourselves. That's all I want. I just want a little bit of ownership back, and I think that's important. If that wasn't clear already, I like stop the killing of game. No kill game, guys. Game kill bad. Smile.
He's an arsonist on a noble quest to escape the wrath of the IRS. He's got conflicting positions in the endless fight for queer folks and